Hi, I'm Allan from North Sails. We're going to talk sail trim and tuning today to get better performance and speed, and hopefully more fun out of your J70. Today we're going to talk about rig tuning and sail trim and how small changes can make a big change in performance and pointing ability. Okay, so the first step in getting your boat ready to go is getting a good dock tune and getting the boat set to base settings. So the first step is always headstay length. We do that by putting a mark on the headstay at the top of the white band, and then we would measure from this mark down to the top pin on the furler. This top pin, that measurement should be 56.5 inches or 1435 in millimeters. First up, the most important thing that we check is the pre-bend. Pre-bend is the static curvature in the mast when you're at dock tune. Having too much will make the mainsail too flat. Having too little will make the mainsail too full and draggy. So this is a critical measurement in tuning for the J70. Okay, once we have the rig set at the base tuning of 19 and 9, the crucial check is to measure the pre-bend. So we'll hoist our pre-bend measurement device up the mast to the spreaders, and then using the main halyard, we hold it tight, like right up to the gooseneck, and we check the measurement. So on this boat right now, we're right at the 2-inch mark. And the goal is to be between 2 and 2.5 inches of pre-bend. If you don't have enough pre-bend, if for some reason you're only at 1 inch, let's say, the first step would be maybe to ease half a turn off the lowers to get the mast to bend more. So the next step now, we have all this pre-bend set, we have our headstay length right, we're at our base tune. The next step would be to go sailing and do visual checks on the sails and how everything sets up to go from there. So once we're on the water, the visual check would be to look at your leeward shrouds, both the lower and the uppers. The upper should be going just slack, and the lower should still have just a little bit of tension on it. That's also with the backstay in conjunction. There should be just a little bit of backstay tension on to keep the headstay from bouncing. If all of those are in range, you know you have a good dock tune and base setting. One of the key elements to mainsail setup and trim is batten tension. So when you insert the battens, getting this tension right is crucial. So the first step is we put the batten in the pocket and we push it as hard as we can to make sure it's all the way inside the bumper end of the batten. Once the loop is on, we'll use the key or flathead screwdriver to tension the rocket up against the rope loop that's in the batten. It's common to over tension the battens, and we see this when, if you look at the sail, the batten has memory and it's popping, just like you see here. It shouldn't quite do that. It should be a bit of a natural fit. So if you see this action with the sail, where you almost see a crease going along the pocket and there's significant pressure, the batten is too tight. So that's batten tension. For the two shorter leech battens, you make sure there's just enough tension to pressure the rocket against the loop, but they should not be overly tight. Okay, so the first step when we get on the water is checking to make sure our tune is correct. So the first thing we do is we visually look to leeward and check our shroud tensions, make sure they're not too tight. Right now the leeward shroud is just starting to go slack a little bit. So we'll give it a little wiggle just to see how we're doing. A little loose there. We're a little loose here. It's base tension, so we're looking pretty good. And then from there we check our backstay out just to see how much backstay tension we have on. And the visual there that we're looking for is making sure the backstay has enough range to be eased to power the boat up or have enough to go down. So the gross tune right now is set up pretty well in that we have enough we can ease or tighten the backstay, which means for this condition, we're probably set up pretty well. So the goal when setting the backstay, the gross tune, is making sure that we have enough that when we ease, it goes up to let the mast go forward and slacken the forestay, and we have enough range to pull down. So the goal when we're kind of sailing in our normal settings is to have the blocks midway through the backstay leg so we have range in both directions. Most times in the J70, setting the traveler is the first key to trimming the main in. In almost all winds, until you're fully hiking or overpowered, the traveler will be all the way to windward. The most down, generally speaking, the traveler will go would be to center line. The reason being is in order to in-haul the jib, the boom can't close the slot off. And the biggest changes here is you can see the change in the mainsail shape by pulling the backstay on. So you can see the sail gets overly flat and twisty by pulling too much backstay, to the point where you can almost get overbend, which happens from here up through the spreaders. One of the tricks that the top main trimmers do is when they get to that edge of overbend, they pull the Cunningham on to move the draft back forward and pull those wrinkles out, which is something a lot of people aren't doing, but it should be top of the list when you get the boat set up right. So here's the backstay in a loose position. If you can see, the sail is pretty powerful in this, and the leech is fairly firm. And as I increase backstay tension, you can see the upper part of the mainsail at the J70 logo starts twisting away from the boat, and the sail gets flatter on the draft stripes. You can see it through the whole range of tensioning the backstay. So this would be an extreme backstay tension, and you can see the top part of the sail is opening up and quite flat, and you can see the wrinkles starting to happen in this part of the sail. And as you ease the backstay, you can see the shape come back in and the pressure come back onto the leech of the sail. So the one key in the J70, regardless of the wind pressure, is having a little bit of backstay on, even in the lightest, because what happens is the sail just gets too deep and too draggy. So you'll see most teams will have just a hint of backstay on to keep the leech a little open so they can sheet harder and help bend the mast, especially if you don't have quite enough pre-bend like we talked about earlier. So the one thing as the main trimmer I'm usually visually checking in all the time is the upper two telltales on the main. Generally speaking, they stall 50 to 70% of the time, especially in the lighter breeze. But as it gets windier, for sure, they're flowing 100% of the time. So even in this puff right here, you can see there's a lot of, you see a lot of the top trimmers. The Traveler generally gets locked into a position, and the bigger two adjustments are the backstay and main sheet in unison, and kind of keeping those two working together all the time. That's the boats that go really fast. The other final adjustment, or an adjustment that's really crucial on the J70, is the Outhaul. And when the boat needs power or height, making sure that there's an Outhaul adjustment is critical. So the one thing we look at, I'll take as a quick clue, is the distance off the boom. And there should be a little visual distance off the boom, maybe a hand length. Generally speaking, as a rule, when it's windy, boats tend to over-tension the Outhaul and the boat gets too flat. And that's what the bottom of the main gets too flat, and that's when boats struggle to point. So even in the breeze, having the Outhaul eased a little bit, especially as you tension the backstay and flatten the upper part, gives the boat some drive and power in the lower section. One of the critical things for most boats is to have a good mark on the Outhaul so you can repeat your settings, and making sure that it's constantly adjusted. So in the lighter stuff, you'll see teams Outhaul off to get power, and as soon as they're hiking, Outhaul back on to help flatten the boat and accelerate, get less drag and just going forward. I mean, we have a little Outhaul mark here, and we use this more as a reference from the cleat, but the whole goal is to have repeatable settings. If you look, there's numbers on the bottom, and the forward person can adjust them. The last adjustment that most mainsail trimmers make is the Vang on a J70. The quick trick is, once you have the main sheet set to where you like it, you just reach forward, take the slack out, and that will be enough. If in the really windy breezes, you'll see people pull it on pretty hard. The one thing it will do is more Vang will bend the lower mast, making the lower part of the main a little bit flatter than if it's off. So what you'll see most people do, all the top trimmers, just hand tight or just the snugness out of it when the main sheet is set. The reason being is that way when they ease, the boom goes out instead of going up and powering the boat up. So no matter what the conditions are, set your main sheet, and then just take the slack out of the Vang. Okay, let's talk jib trim and why this is the most crucial part of the J70 and the elements that go into it. First up is your lead position, and this is where it all kind of starts. I think if you look on most boats, they're in the 6th hole behind the first screw. If you look on the deck, and that's a pretty standard location for most places. The reason that's there is it allows you to in-haul in a proper way and still keep proper jib shape, whereas if you don't need to in-haul, it also allows you to sheet on and have the jib set right. So it seems to be a pretty good all-around position. So the couple visuals that we're looking for is having the clue of the jib when we're sheeted on the edge of the cabin top where the non-skid is. That's like a really good starting point where the clue of the jib will end up. So the goal is to set up the in-hauler there and then set your leeward sheet tension so that the telltales on the leech are flowing and you're somewhere near your mid-spreader marks. That's a really good all-around setting for setting the jib up. The other thing we're looking for is the luff of the jib with the jib halyard. And as you can see right now in the puff, we're actually getting the wrinkles approaching the first seam of the jib. Probably too loose for the halyard. So we'll probably we would pull it on and get those wrinkles to just show a hint coming off the headstay. It's a really good visual trick for everyone to see. So this would be probably too eased on the jib halyard where the wrinkles are encroaching on that first vertical seam in the jib. So one of the tricks is just having a hint of it coming off the headstay, no matter what the wind condition, and that's a pretty good setting for having the jib halyard right 90% of the time. So the other key to getting really accurate and repeatable jib trim is making sure you have good marks on the deck. So if you look, there'll be a mark on the leeward side for the leeward sheet. We have a scale, And then there's the same marks are on the windward side for the in-hauler. We use a different color. The reason being is that way it's easy for the jib trimmer coming out of a tack or keeping track of notes what numbers. So a lot of times we'll say we're, in this example, 9 and 9, and we're happy with that setting. So that way when we're coming off a leeward mark or out of a tack, we can get to our settings pretty quickly. So you can see when the backstay, now we have full backstay on, you can see the headstay is getting firmer, and actually the jib halyard got tighter as well. The trick here is when you, in the puff, backstay on to keep the headstay straight, and if you ease it off, you can see the jib gets fuller and the headstay sags away from the boat. You can see the visual change in the headstay tension and the jib with the backstay. So the one thing to remember for the main trimmer is that the backstay is affecting both sails. It's the only control on the boat where both sails are being impacted. So this is a good thing to see here in light air. One of the things for the mainsail trimmer to watch for is you get the batten stuck. So if you look up at the mast, we had a light air tack here. The battens got stuck on the backstay. So getting the battens to pop and then visually looking up to get the battens to blow through is a crucial part in the lighter breeze for the mainsail trimmer to watch. You see a lot of times where people are going around, they tack or jibe, the battens get stuck and they sail that way for a while. Never really ideal situation. So the one thing to look at on the main is the overbend wrinkles. It's a good indicator of too much backstay or the rig is too loose. So pulling the backstay on to get the wrinkles to go from the clew through the vision window, you'll see them approach here in the sail like they are now. That's an indicator too much backstay or the rig is too soft. My gut says in this situation the rig is too soft, but that's a good check for making sure the backstay is within the range of what you're doing. The other thing we have on here is a good visual for the main trimmer is the black mark on the backstay. And that lets us get to repeatable settings from the downwind leg versus upwind when we're going around the course to kind of get back to a setting that we were happy with. So having good marks all over the boat is critical. If you look, we have them on the outhaul. We usually have it on the main sheet. We have it on the jib sheets, halyards, everything. Marks are key to help make everything simpler. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video and you had a good time and get more learning and speed out of your J70. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. And remember, we're here to help. And the more speed you have, the more fun you're gonna have. And hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching.